So, you stumbled upon this channel yet again. Welcome, my friends, welcome. I feel like it's been ages because, well, it kind of has been. Over 2 weeks since our last podcast. Far too long for us to talk about video games, my friends. Far too long indeed. Welcome back. Take a seat. Grab your tankard and raise it. For we have a new patch in Baldur's Gate 3. New news regarding RPGs all across the realm. And many more things for us to discuss, my friends. The list goes on and on. But I thank you yet again for joining us on this mystical and magical journey that we call making YouTube videos. Let's start the show. One day it'll be less awkward.
Nah, I think it's going to continue to be that awkward the entire time. And
it could probably could be.
Like, we could make it more awkward.
No,
I can be over here just like just heavy breathing while you're sitting there doing it.
Yeah. I can just be like all up in the camera. It's just full nostril cam.
Yeah. see pores and shit. So it'll be nice.
So it has been like 2 weeks or 3 weeks since the last podcast.
Yeah, it's been. Yeah.
I looked. It was like the 3rd or the 6th was when we did the last one.
Yep. Because I left on the. It was the 3rd because I left on the 8th.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was.
So it has been quite a long time since we had the last show. So if this is your first time, welcome. This is the Just Gaming Podcast, where me, your host Ian, discusses video games with the community and my co-host Mark.
Hi. I like games too.
And we got a lot of different stuff to talk about today. But first, let's do a little bit of catch up because we have like life catch up to talk about. Just slightly. So, Mark, you went to
the Bahamas.
The Bahamas. How did that go?
I did. It was magic. It was so magical, Ian, that I spent extra money to text you to see if you and Jackie wanted to go on the next one. That's how awesome it was.
Yeah, I actually forgot. I saw that, but I was like busy with work, and I kind of ignored it at the time.
You were just like, sure.
You
were like, whatevs. Whatevs.
Like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe. No, it was awesome. So much fun. Just hanging out with the wife was a lot of fun. A lot more fun than I thought it would be. Yeah.
Cool,
yeah, I said that.
Cool.
You heard what I said when I said it.
Yeah.
I've had a monitor break when I got back, and I didn't know that I was this much of a PC elitist. But playing at 60 hertz on a 60 hertz monitor feels absolutely disgusting now. That I didn't play anything for the entire week that I was back. I didn't play a single game because it just did not feel good, and so I had to just nut up and just buy another monitor. And I moved up to.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like PC elitist as much as it is just like performance elitist in general. Though I mean, I guess they're kind of synonymous, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I say it's a PC elitist thing is because like games on PC can run at those higher refresh rates, and consoles generally do not. I mean,
can they?
They'll have, yeah. They it's weird. It's weird. You can sit there...
Starfield would have you believe otherwise.
So I moved up to 1440p with 165 hertz, and it is magical. And then my son was like, "Hey, you know what? Now that you got some hardware, why don't you play some Cyberpunk since you haven't played it at all ever?" And guess what?
Yeah, it's pretty.
That game is fucking beautiful. It is a magical game.
It is. Honestly, even back when the game first released, even when Cyberpunk first came out, I was like, "Wow, this is like really, really pretty." I'm like, I can't. How are people talking bad about this game? And then I played it for like more than 5 minutes. It was like,
that's right. It's buggy. Cool.
It's bad. It's bad. And we'll get more into Cyberpunk later. There's definitely stuff I want to talk about with that. I should be able to still continue the podcast going on even through my big work project that starts next week.
Nice.
That starts on Monday, so my hours are going to get cranked up. So I might not be dropping as many videos as I normally do. At least I'm going to still try to because it's something that I enjoy to do at the very least. But we'll see how that goes. Outside of that, I mean, you've been gone for 2 weeks, but I've not. So it's just been the same old, just playing Baldur's Gate, playing some video games, all kinds of different stuff lately. Popping around to some different stuff now that I've basically completed 2 entire full campaigns, figuring out what I'm going to do for like my 3rd solo one. Like which one I really want to like drive all the way home, as well as like thinking about the one that like you and I are going to do as well. Streaming and stuff. Streams have been really fun. So yeah, it's been a good time. It's been a good time just playing games and chilling right now. That's been the deal. Yeah.
Nice. You'd look as pasty as I am that I didn't get tan, but I did. This is actually a lot darker than normal.
Yeah. So I was like, so are you sure you went to the Bahamas?
Yeah, I went.
I
got
like
lobster.
looked through a window the entire time you were there.
It's like you'd see those old men who wear like Speedos, but they look like if you've ever like grabbed a frog and held it up and just let its body hang, they look just like that.
That's an interesting analogy.
Yeah, it was it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Dude, that's the thing about vacations and stuff, is that like even when I went to like Final Fantasy Fan Fest, which I mean that wasn't like a long vacation, that was just like a weekend that we just went to go check out the Final Fantasy Fan Fest. It's so funny like how also exhausting vacations are at the same time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I am one of those people that like when I come back from a vacation, I need like another 2 days just to like dial back into like home world.
Decompress.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, my wife, she had to go right back to work. We got back Sunday night, and she had to go back to work Monday. I took a day off. I'm not.
Yeah, no way. No. No, I'm planning on a vacation either at end of this year or next year, going out of country somewhere. I'm not really too sure exactly where yet. Japan's been on the radar, but also at the same time, I also feel like, you know, for a first time like leaving the country, I feel like going somewhere where, you know, where I speak the native tongue would probably be a better way to go.
Yeah, it might be.
I mean?
It might
like
be.
I would imagine going somewhere like Europe would probably be a little bit easier to get around, especially since most of the people speak English anyway, right?
Yeah, I looked at there's a 14-day Norwegian cruise that I'm looking at, which would be pretty dope.
You're all about the cruises, huh?
Dude, think about it.
You love the boat life.
You're on a boat, and everything you could want is on the boat. And then you get off the boat, and there's more stuff that you want. It's great. Free food, drinks.
All right,
good.
all right. Yeah, boating spokesperson here we got.
Yeah, right. You know how I feel about pirates. How much I hate them. Just saying. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, you're in it now.
I get it.
It's a pirate life for you, I guess.
It is.
All right, interesting. So, all right, let's get into talking about some games and stuff. So, Baldur's Gate 3 recently had a little patch. Baldur's Gate's actually had a lot of stuff going on while you were gone.
A lot of stuff.
There's been a lot of shit going on while you were gone. Yeah. My lord, man. The amount of things. So, it's almost like I don't even know how we're going to even unpack all these different conversations. I'm going to make a video on this, but did you see that Netflix is apparently trying to get rights to the IP to make a Baldur's Gate TV series?
You know,
it's like,
like
for me, it's like sometimes they do it right. Yeah. And then other times I'm like,
You know, I watched One Piece.
It's good.
And it was good.
It's really good. It's really good.
And so, like, a part of me is like, cool. That'd be kind of cool. Baldur's Gate, kind of cool, whatever. But then, like, it's also Netflix.
Yeah,
you know?
So then I
see some good shows.
Yeah. So then I see a bunch of different stuff that Netflix does, and I'm like, man, I don't really know if I want you guys making anything related to Baldur's Gate. I've seen a lot of different people talking about it too, where they're like, why don't they just do an animated series? Like, why does it always have to be live action? And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to speak to an audience outside of the people that would normally play the game, which is dumb because that's what Netflix always tries to do. They always try to reach the audience that isn't the audience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why they have bad shows and stuff, in my opinion, to begin with, because they keep trying to tell the story to people that have no interest in that story or in that content or in that universe. It's like, oh, I'm gonna tell a story about D&D to a bunch of jocks.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like I mean, that's obviously I'm just giving a random example, but it's just like people that only love like sports stuff. Like, why would you do that? Like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah, like I said, I think it wouldn't be terrible. I mean, I did watch the Rings of Power on Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it.
Terrible.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not doable to make like a decent show. But
I mean, don't they still have Gears of War lined up for live action on Netflix as well? I thought that was something they were working on with Batista.
I don't think that was ever like confirmed, like that they picked a cast or a director.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything past it, so I have no idea. I'll
have to check.
I am looking forward to the new Castlevania.
The animation.
Nocturne. Yeah, the Nocturne I think is going to be the new one.
Yeah, I think they killed it. That anime kills it for Castlevania. It's super awesome. So
Samantha says 1 more week of pregnancy. Congratulations.
I'm sorry.
Name the child Legendary.
And don't drop it.
And don't drop it.
That's kind of the first key is like, don't shake or drop your baby.
Yeah. Otherwise they end up like me. So anyway, that was just like a little like side piece of information that I saw. I'm going to make a video. I'm going to discuss it a little bit further later. Because I think it's still an interesting prospect. And on top of that, it definitely because this wouldn't actually be something that involves Larian Studios and making a television show. It actually more or less would involve Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
Which it makes a lot of sense for them to do so because they've already it's pretty apparent that they've really been trying to push the popularity of the IP in general, of Dungeons and Dragons at the very least.
I mean, the last Dungeons and Dragons movie was actually really, really good.
I liked it. There's a lot of people, like a lot of purists that didn't like it, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining.
So, yeah, it could be. You know could be fun. You know what I mean?
I wasn't looking for it to be some hardcore campaign, and I don't think you could really. I mean, like you could tell. I think a lot of people wanted like a Dungeons and Dragons tale that was told in like the light of like a Lord of the Rings. You know, like much more serious. Yeah. Yes, like and don't get me wrong. I'm in the same boat. I would love to see like the story of Baldur's Gate told in a cinematic fashion. You know what I mean? Like I would really love to see that. But I mean,
you would almost as large of an IP. I'd say IP is I guess it is an IP. You would almost have to do it Game of Thrones-esque to where you'd have to do like multiple seasons. You know what I mean? Like it would have to be like a much grander deal than just six episode miniseries.
Well, you have to think. I think the story of Baldur's Gate, like in general, like across the three video games, if we're just looking at the video games, I mean, it spans like hundreds of years, if not thousands, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean, like, yeah. There's a lot to tell there. There's a lot of stories and stuff like that. Which like it'd be kind of nice to see like the old. Like I almost wish a lot of TV shows took after anime in a way where they have like these cores where they have like, here's our first season, and then at the end of every season there's like a year break to the next season, but in between that year break there's also a movie.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really cool. It adds a lot more to the universe, and they also make it where like the movies aren't necessarily canon either. Like they are but aren't. Yeah. Like you can watch the entire TV show.
Sometimes they are, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can watch the entire TV show and not watch any of the movies, and it doesn't really matter. I learned that with like Bleach, right? Like I watched all of Bleach, obviously not all of it yet because now there's new episodes. But I didn't even know the movies even existed, and then I wouldn't watch the movies, and I was like, oh, this is like cherries on top.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? It's good. Yeah, so that's really cool. So in other Baldur's Gate affairs, have you seen the High Rollers D&D campaign they have the voice actors doing?
I did watch that.
I think it's I just started the let me see if my article page is actually ready and rolling. It is cool. So I have been watching it like a little bit on the side. It's really good. It's really well done. The funny thing is like I watched a lot of Critical Role. I have not watched a lot of High Rollers.
Me either. I like Critical Role so much because I actually like the individual people that are playing it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like watching a sitcom almost and seeing
Yeah.
your favorite peeps. No,
Yeah.
it actually was done really well. It's really funny too. So
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
well, yeah, I like the natural personality of a lot of the voice actors, that really shines through. And it was really funny because Jackie had brought it up to me where she's just like, a lot of these guys actually kind of look like their characters, and I'm like,
Yeah, they do.
yes, that they're
Yeah,
supposed to. They're
Yeah.
modeled after them. Yeah, they should look like it. Especially like Gale and Shadowheart are like spitting images for the most part. Yeah. Like, and actually the funny thing is that like the more you watch the D&D campaign, the more you realize that like Shadowheart literally is Shadowheart. Like her voice actor just is her. Like they have the same kind of mannerisms and stuff like that. They act like the same person. It's pretty funny. But yeah, and the one thing that I will say is that like watching them play on high rollers,
they don't know shit about D&D.
Well, which is fine.
No,
a lot of people don't.
It's great.
Yeah, no. But what I was gonna say is that it's not that they don't know anything about it as much as it is like they're taking to it very well.
Mm-hmm.
And but this is a much more like realistic campaign.
Yeah. Well, so I know what you're
because like watching like Critical Role is like isn't really like the standard of like how a D&D campaign would go,
because
right?
they're professionals. They're professional D&D players. And this is really good because it kind of like it shows you that there is a path for someone who's never done it before to be able to do it.
Talk about being in the wrong industry. Could you imagine being a professional D&D player? Yeah,
dude.
I'm a sponsored D&D player, by the way. This is sponsored.
I'm just swimming through it right now, buddy. Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. There's also like another thing that I plan on talking about at one point in time in the future, but like they've done such a good job like holistically marketing Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you look at a lot of other games, especially games that are done in like a very like AAA manner. Like, like this game is very, very much presented in a AAA way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Might be a AA studio, but the game is presented in a AAA way. And there's just a lot of wasted money that goes into the marketing of the game.
Oh yeah.
And they are not like their money is so well spent with their ad campaigns because they basically have just stuck to YouTube and Twitter. It's artists, musicians, voice actors, D&D campaigns, YouTubers that make like animated videos and stuff like that. Like they've been really smart about where they're putting their money when it comes to marketing the game, and it's pretty awesome. And the funny thing is like a lot of the content, it's not just like they're not just marketing the game. They're actually just providing more value to the people that are already playing it to begin with. Because who's going to appreciate a D&D campaign with the voice actors more than the people that love the game? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's super cool how Larian is so smart, like you said, with their marketing money, that other companies would evaluate them so lowly, isn't it?
Are you talking about that Xbox thing?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So for other companies, I'm not really going to get into it. I just wanted to see if I could trigger you for a second. They've done a really good job with their money. This is how a studio should be. This is why the game is a $60 game. You don't have to pay $70 for it because they're not trying to get back this, bloated marketing amount. Well, I mean, what was it like? I can't remember who I was watching or what I was watching it on. They're talking about, if it takes $500 million to make a game, $275 million of that is just marketing money.
Oh, that was me.
It was you. I mean, and that's crazy.
That was me and my content.
That was what?
That was me. No, because I talked about it I think I talked about it in the wake up call video where I specifically mentioned Diablo 4 that had a $180 million marketing budget. And it's like, how does that go to making the game better? It doesn't. Like, oh, great, you guys got Megan Fox to read out people's deaths in hardcore. Rad. Sure, that all of that money that you guys spent on marketing and like, did you know they completely renovated an entire church in fucking, I think it was like in Spain or France, completely renovated an entire church and had it repainted with like the figures of like the world of Diablo across the entire church. I can't even imagine how expensive that was. And then they shot a music video in said church with Halsey and the most popular K-pop like singer. Like, how much did that cost? You guys had a song written by two megastars. Like, and that's pop music, not rock music, by the way. If it was a metal band or something like that, it probably would have been a lot cheaper, but you're choosing, two pop stars. Like, dude, I can't even imagine the disgusting amounts of money that were wasted in the wrong places. And guess what? You look at a game like Diablo 4, it's dead. It's dead. Great.
What game?
I don't know. Who?
What?
But it's one of those situations where it's like, this is a game that was supposed to make them a ton of money in the future, right? Because they were planning on milking it for microtransactions.
Service.
But guess what? Now there's no microtransactions to milk off of because you made a shit game and you spent all of your money on marketing.
Yep. And what did Dave Chappelle say? The milk is bad. 2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down. Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you look at a studio like Larian and you look at what they did with Baldur's Gate 3 and they spent money in the right places when they needed to, and that money that was spent was on voice actors, it was on performance capture, it was on developing the game, and then they just released it.
Yeah,
like they didn't early. They did, and the thing is like outside, like they didn't really market the game.
No.
Like I'm really trying to think of like how much they marketed the game before it came out, but like
which is so weird about the Microsoft thing, because the first marketing for that game was on an Xbox stage at E3 in what, 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
And then like nothing, and then of course early access, and to some of the comments in the chat is true. It was word of mouth after that.
It was.
Have you tried this out, man? This game's great.
Yeah, the game literally after that just ended up being word of mouth. It ended up being nothing else. And if anything, it was actually the storm of the whole like outcry towards the gaming industry, like wanting games to be better, and like that whole conversation with the developers on Twitter and stuff like that really sparked a kind of I don't even know how you say it, kind of a like a grassroots movement towards people buying the game, which is really interesting. And then the funny thing is that at the same time, then you have a lot of folks that I'd imagine they were probably Xbox players, and like fucking Starfield Andes that were really upset because they're like they thought it was a psyop. I'm not kidding you. I have seen probably over the last month, I have seen hundreds of comments of people mentioning that the Baldur's Gate, like people want games to be better, people want games to be like Baldur's Gate 3. They thought it was an entire psyop marketing campaign structured by Larian to basically stir up audiences to think that it's a great game when it's not, and try to make it like this social movement and stuff like that. And I'm like, bro, like but when I say psyop, I mean like flat Earth theory. I mean we never went to the moon. I mean I don't know. That's about it. Yeah, like
I'm
conspiracy theory.
The weeds a little bit on this. And you know what the main thing about the Starfield versus the Baldur's Gate thing? So it's got multiple layers. The first layer is that Baldur's Gate was coming out on PlayStation, and they had announced it on Xbox because of the Series S. So that's the underlying thing, right? But initially, the start of it was because Bethesda got purchased by Microsoft, and Starfield became a Microsoft exclusive. Okay, that's what started the whole deal.
Yeah.
The continuation of why it went to Baldur's Gate is because the people who are Xbox Andes want Starfield to win Jeff Keighley's Game of the Year award more than anything in the world.
I just want my game to be prom queen.
Yeah, they need that affirmation that the game is good. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about Game of the Year awards.
Well, no,
I don't.
I mean, I feel like big like hardcore console fans, regardless of what team they play for, I think they put themselves in a position in which like they need whatever their game was this year to win Game of the Year, because that's their ammunition on Twitter for the rest of the year, right?
Yep.
Because it's like, no, what are you talking about? PlayStation's doing great, and they're like, is PlayStation doing great? Because you didn't win Game of the Year, our game did. You know what I mean? Is Nintendo doing great? Well, maybe Nintendo would be doing great if Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom won Game of the Year, but it didn't. So you must suck.
Like Game of the Year. Weird. Game of the Year is such like it doesn't matter. It's one of those things that just does not matter at all. Like, yeah. I'll sit there and say, you know what? X game is my game of the year. It's my personal game of the year. It's the best game that I've played this year. Right? And that's all that should matter to anybody.
That's all that should matter to you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that like the people they need, like I think it's affirmation that they they got value out of the game. I don't get it, but like just because, you know, Jeff Keighley decides that it's the game of the year, like I'm hoping Baldur's Gate wins just to piss off Starfield fans.
It probably will.
So
I can't see it not. But here's the same thing. You know what it is that like there's also like you desiring your game to win Game of the Year is also like a way that like I want Baldur's Gate 3 to win all of the accolades it possibly can, because I believe that it's a game that deserves all of it. And I think that's something else that it comes down to as well, where like people get really hung up on the Game of the Year stuff, mainly because it's it's like watching it's like watching your favorite sports game, right? You're watching your favorite sports balls, and your sports ball team gets
get real good.
The other team like gets an unfair goal, right? And like you're sitting there and you're going, "This is bullshit. My team should have won." You know what I mean? And you've seen it before. We've all had those moments where we got upset, where we're like, "Why? How are we losing? How did we lose?" You know what I mean? This doesn't even make any sense. Like we definitely deserved the victory, but we were robbed. We were robbed from it. I don't think we can help but like pick teams, especially when we're talking about, you know, games and stuff that we love. Especially when you see like communities pop up out of these games to begin with, right? Because then it does create a bit of a team. I'm more of a fan of these tribes coming as a result of a game and becoming a community around that game, rather than being somebody that's a fan of like doing it around, you know, consoles specifically, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. And what I'm to call back to what I was saying is I hope Baldur's Gate 3 wins. I want to see the reactions of the conspiracies of why they won. Why was Starfield snubbed? The industry hates Xbox. It's going to be all this stuff instead of, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 is a better RPG than Starfield is. Starfield's a good game, but it is a shooting game that has RPG elements in it.
Yeah.
It's not a true RPG. It's just not. And I don't care. Yeah. I'll argue anybody hands down on that. It is not like if you just play the story, because I beat Starfield. That's one thing I did when I got back. I finished it. I was only like 2 or 3 missions away from it. They built it exactly like they built Skyrim, okay? So if, like with Skyrim or any Elder Scrolls games, you can just beeline the story, okay?
And so what happens, Jeff Keighley. That's funny.
And so what happens is if you do that in Starfield, it's just like, I mean, things are just happening so fast. Like what they want you to do, because the narrative is so shallow and it's not a very deep game, is they want you to do one mission and then get distracted by this over here. It's shiny. Go look at this for a little bit. And then you go, like, oh, okay, well, I did this for like 8 hours. I'm going to go back over and do one more campaign mission. And then you see something over here and you just keep branching off and coming back to fill out the, like this game has to have the side quest stuff to make the main campaign narrative feel meaningful, if that makes sense. Like if you just beeline it, it doesn't feel meaningful at all.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to give you what my issue is with the game. I had a hard time articulating this before, and then I finally came to the realization that what I really loved about Fallout and Skyrim or Oblivion or whatever was that you'd get into an area and you would just point yourself in a direction and just go. And then you would just stumble upon stuff. I would see something off in the distance. It would be like a tomb that was like shoved into the side of a mountain. And then I would go into it. And there were some like necromancers that were doing some ritual, and that ended up leading to a quest chain to take down this cult. And because of that, I ended up getting some really cool spell or some really cool item or some really cool armor or whatever it was, or maybe it would be like a permanent passive that I got because of something that I did with that quest line. Where in Starfield, it's point yourself in a direction on the map, teleport to that place, teleport to that system, teleport to that planet, teleport to the surface of that planet. Here are your 3 pre-generated areas that you can go to on that planet, your points of interest, and then that's it. And you're directed to those points of interest. You know what I mean? Where in earlier Bethesda games, you just discovered that stuff naturally. It was a natural game of discovery. And Starfield is not a game of natural discovery. It's very inauthentic discovery. And I'm not saying it doesn't still have like the soul of like what makes a Bethesda game. So there's a lot of things that players are going to enjoy if they love Bethesda games to begin with. Because a lot of that stuff is there, and a lot of that stuff I still find to be really, really fun and really enjoyable. But the one thing that made me love playing Skyrim or loved playing Oblivion was that I could literally just say, today I'm going to play this game. I'm going to sit down, and I'm just going to point myself in a direction, and I'm going to walk. And I'm going to keep walking and find what I find and see what kind of stories unfold. Maybe I'll find a broken down village that has things for me to do for them. Maybe I'll find some cult or something like that. I remember the first time I found the spire in Skyrim out in the middle of nowhere in the wastes of that winter waste area where it's just like an ice lake, and you just walk across it and there's like the mage's spire, and you walked in there and you're like, dude, what the hell is this? And then like all of a sudden that leads you on some crazy adventure. But like it's not the same. It's not delivered the same as their other games were. And I think that has a lot to do with just too much focus on scale and not as much focus on like curated experiences.
It basically what you're saying, it was quantity over quality.
And that's something that plagues the industry across the board.
Yeah. Someone just brought up Fallout 4. I didn't like Fallout 4 at all, because to me it felt the same way like I feel when I land on something in Starfield. It's just a wasteland, and then there's one thing here, and then I'm just walking across the wasteland, and then there's something, one thing there. Nothing feels. I don't know. I like my worlds to feel a little more fleshed out, and it like Starfield, and I get the nature of it, and it's easy thematically for them to say, okay, well, yeah, these planets and moons and blah blah blah. I get it, but why should I go there if it's nothing? You know what I mean? Just going there to go there doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the majority of going to these other planets and other moons is just to go into the temples to get abilities. That's basically in Skyrim when you go to find those dragon altars to get your new power word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all it is. Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. Yes, Outer Worlds is a better space RPG. Starfield's a better shooter. I would give Starfield that. It's a lot better shooter than Outer Worlds.
I would say that.
So I think they did some good stuff, but like I don't want to stay on Starfield too long.
It's just, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna boil it down. The reason why there is a separation in players when it comes to Starfield is one reason. It's because there are a group of people, a subset of people that believe that the game was going to push the industry forward, was going to push Bethesda forward, and it was going to be a game that would set a new standard for RPGs going forward, because Bethesda has been known for that in the past. They have been a developer. Even Larian tweeted out, like, this is like standing on the shoulders of giants. Like when they're like, I can't wait to play Starfield, because, you know, a lot of the developers over at Larian are like, I can't wait to play Starfield because it's a game that, you know, for them is an inspiration for some of the things that they have made themselves. However, it wasn't that. It just wasn't that game. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a good game. It's just not a great game.
Yep.
And that and for some people, that's a complete turnoff, because I can play good games. There's tons of good games to play. I'm hungry for great games.
Yeah.
Personally, that's me. I'm just in the mood for great games. I'm in the mood for something that knocks me on my ass and goes, damn, I need some more of that. And it just wasn't that game for me.
Mommy. Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, it just for me personally, it just wasn't that game. And it's okay for me to have that opinion and you to have a different one. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of folks that just can't get around that, because they're like, no, but your opinion is wrong, because Starfield is the greatest game that's ever made. And it's like, yeah, but it's not.
But is it though? Right? But is it?
But it's not. So speaking of Starfield, let's talk about Baldur's Gate's patch notes.
Okay. How's that
transition?
Segue.
Yeah, how's that for a transition? You like that one? Shut up.
I like it.
I do whatever I want. Let's see. Can I zoom in a little bit more and it not look like Ace? I don't remember how to do that. All right, this is gonna be good enough. You guys are gonna have to get over it. So it says, hello everyone. Patch 3 is now live for Baldur's Gate 3 Mac users, and chronic character recreators rejoice. Friday's update will bring the full release of Baldur's Gate 3 to Mac, and allow you to change your character's appearance in the Magic Mirror. So the Mac support thing is like oddly not talked about, but really cool, because Mac doesn't get games.
Not really. No, I mean, you're not going to see Whoopi Goldberg talking about Baldur's Gate 3 like you did with Diablo 4 not coming to Mac.
I'd like to, you want to talk about a psyop? I think Whoopi Goldberg was being paid to talk about
She's a paid actor.
Yeah, she's a paid actor.
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing. I mean, we've got guys like Fonz, our buddy that just has a Mac. He should be playing this game now, or he might be waiting for PlayStation. I don't know.
He's waiting. He's waiting for it to release on Xbox.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. So, but yeah, no, that's, I think that's anytime that a developer gives you the accessibility to play it where you can play it is always going to be a good thing. There's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. I mean, the only console or whatever, the only platform you're not going to be able to play this game on is going to be Switch, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
yeah.
and that's more or less for just like, because the platform just can't be able to do that. We've already seen that with Mortal Kombat 1, right? Have you seen the stuff around that?
Yeah. So with the FTC releasing its court case documents, it released a lot of documents about more than just Microsoft. A lot of people are just hyped around the Microsoft.
I saw the Switch 2 stuff.
Yeah, it leaked like the Switch's upcoming, it's coming. I think the Switch, honestly, is going to end up being a lot more streamable, if that makes sense. And I think what's going to end up happening is like AAA games are going to, like, either Nintendo's going to have their own streaming service, like an actual streaming service for third-party games, or they're going to get with like a Netflix or an Nvidia Shield or whatever type deal to stream onto their handheld.
Yeah, I could see something like that. I also see a world in which Nintendo actually returns to being like the major dominant console platform, at least.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because since they've always remained on trying to keep things portable and keep things small and easy to carry around, as we move further and further into the future, that's going to be something that is going to be more valued. And since they're already used to trying to make their technology as small as possible, they're going to be ahead of companies like PlayStation and Xbox, who have basically rooted themselves into the idea of, just making these monster pieces of plastic for our living rooms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was look how fucking massive the PlayStation 5 is, as big as my desktop.
Yeah, I've got it. I've got it in my my room now, on my desk, and it is large
Yeah,
as
yeah, like
anything needs to
it
be.
is genuinely, like, the PlayStation 5 is genuinely fucking massive. It's obnoxiously large. Like, I appreciate that my Series S is like compact and I can, slide it into the shelf and it looks aesthetic.
Yeah.
I hide my PlayStation behind my TV.
Yeah, that's why I've got it hid behind my third monitor.
Don't look at it. Don't
look it in the eye.
Yeah, don't look at it in the eye. So I think it's really cool that they're putting Baldur's Gate 3 on Mac. That's one of those things where, like, I love seeing stuff like this where they want to put this on as many devices as they possibly can, regardless of whatever operating system these guys use. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, like, depending on, like, I mean, I doubt we'd ever see a world in which Microsoft puts anything on Mac. You know what I mean?
No, Microsoft just likes to steal ideas from Mac. Not really.
Just steal ideas. Oh God, spicy.
No, so I'm gonna. This is it kind of stays pertaining. I've noticed. First off, Ian.
Yeah.
I want to say you are doing an awesome job with the channel. The growth has been phenomenal. Your content gets better and better each time you do it. Really impressed, really proud. We started as a podcast. You've taken this channel and made it your own, and it is awesome. I mean, it is awesome. I noticed in Discord we had like almost 200 some odd people in Discord now.
Yeah,
which
it's been exploding
amazing.
lately. Yeah,
and so we were getting a lot of cool conversations in Discord. And one of these conversations that came up was about quality of games.
Yeah.
If quality of games was going to go down, and the reason I bring this up is because we were talking about Nintendo. Now, a lot of people don't remember back in the 80s, gaming almost nearly died, especially home gaming, nearly died because the consoles were expensive, the games were expensive, and the quality of those games was below subpar, right? Nintendo, that's when Nintendo came out with their seal of quality.
I remember the gold seal.
The gold seal of quality, that if you buy a Nintendo game, you're going to get a quality game. And they did that. And they're the ones who kind of saved console gaming in general. I have a fear that if we stay on this track of just trying to make these live service games, and to your point, to your last video, of companies aren't focusing on the quality of the games, or they're focusing on how to monetize the game. That's what it's about. It's about monetizing. The FTC report that came out, it has an interview from Jim Ryan, who basically says, and this is an interview from February, to where they're bringing out the 10 live service games for PlayStation. Bungie's heading up the monetization on those games, but what they're wanting is your engagement into the game, and then your just the microtransactions. That's all they're looking for. So they're going to take all of their IPs and make live service games out of them. Like your Last of Us is going to have a multiplayer that's going to be, monetized on being microtransactions and all that stuff. They brought up the Activision acquisition in the interview and said, he said, no, I don't think Microsoft's going to keep the games from us, but I think spending $4 billion for Bungie to build our 10 live service games is smarter than the $69 billion to buy Activision. Where do you think he's going to get that $69 billion from? From you and from me. That's what they're expecting to do. So to answer that question about the quality, Nintendo still has a pretty high quality. They've had some stinkers with the Pokemon and stuff like that, but for the most part, they make quality games. And so that's why I agree with you. I think Nintendo could end up being they already are. They sell more consoles than both of these put together.
They're a monster. They're a monster in the console market. And it's one of those things where I will say with a lot of their titles that they do really hold true to they hold true to their morals when it comes to like what they make, the kind of content that they bring out in the first place. And for the most part, across the board, they've done a really good job of not overly monetizing a lot of their titles to begin with, right? Like they really haven't sunk into that. And this could probably be seen as a shot across the bow for Xbox. When I brought up in that video where I was talking about how they put Baldur's Gate 3 low on the priority list, But what really should be shocking about that priority list for games on Game Pass was the one that they had at the highest priority was that new looter shooter, that Gotham Knight. What is it? The Suicide Squad game.
Yeah.
That was the highest priority. So live service games take a higher priority. And the funny thing is that, and mind you, I think that list was like a year old. I know some of the emails were like 2 years old or 3 years old. Yeah. But that list I think was from this year.
Yeah, that list was their own analyst guessing how much the partners would ask for. So they were guessing that 2K is going to ask for $15 million a month for Grand Theft Auto. They thought EA would ask for $300 million to put Jedi Survivor on Game Pass. It's what they thought. So their analyst valued Baldur's Gate 3 as a Just Dance game.
Yeah, they valued it as something where the developers wouldn't ask for a lot of money.
Yeah,
and but they also had a rating on there for like what their projected popularity for that game would also be as well.
Yeah, like so their analysts either don't play games, or they're just going, like you're about to say, they're just going after the games that are going to get them more monetization. Like if they got that Suicide Squad that's going to have the microtransactions, if it's on the Xbox, obviously they're going to get a piece of those microtransactions.
That's true too, and I didn't think about that because anytime you're going to be interacting with the online store of a game and you're doing it through a console, they're going to get a piece of that.
Yeah,
all of that money doesn't just go straight to the developer at that point. That's the reason why a lot of these games do want to have a lot of these larger platforms want to have their own platform in which they sell their games on, is because it's more revenue capture for them.
Yeah,
a really good example of this is something like Blizzard and Battle.net, right? So with Blizzard and Battle.net, they want to capture as much as they possibly can. That's why they have Battle.net in the first place. Otherwise, we would see Diablo or World of Warcraft or any of their other titles on Steam, and we don't see them on Steam. While some of those titles might be on different consoles, they're not necessarily always on Steam.
Yeah.
Right? Or at least none of their games are on Steam.
Yeah, none of their games are on Steam. But no, the good thing is it looks like Sony's going to put a lot more of their games on PC, which he already said before, but I think that's kind of a good thing.
Resket the Biscuit with $7.99 Australian fake money. It's not real money. They don't have real money there. Says, you pointed out Redfall as the fault of Microsoft in that video. That's completely wrong. You can't put that on. You can't put that on Microsoft for its state. I absolutely can, and I'm going to tell you why I can. I can put it on Microsoft because they own the company that makes that game. It is an oversight of theirs. To say that Microsoft has absolutely no control or no responsibility for any of the games that are released by their studios is kind of mind-boggling to me. Because that's like acting like if your servers at the restaurant are assholes and they're treating the staff like shit, or sorry, they're treating the customers like shit. I'm not allowed to blame the owner of that restaurant. Right?
Yeah,
I think that's a really good analogy to make. I can 100% be able to blame Microsoft because they are the ones that own them in the first place. It's the same way that we blame Tencent or we blame Embracer Group for studios that are under them making shit games, because Embracer Group and Tencent are the ones that are pushing corporate narratives on them in order for them to make certain things. And while Xbox and Microsoft may not actually be pushing corporate narratives or directives on these companies, they still have a responsibility to
protect their own brand.
To protect their brand, yes, and to make sure that the games that are being released on their platform are of a high enough quality. And also on top of that, they have a responsibility to actually, survey these games, to actually really look into them and see where they're at. And to disprove that point to begin with, Phil Spencer came out himself and said we should have been more involved. So yes, that means it was Xbox's fault because they should have been more involved. And if you're going to take all of the responsibility and just put it on that specific developer, that is wrong, because they were purchased by another company. And when you're purchased by another company, that's because that other company is going to give you leadership. They're going to give you a certain area to be able to operate within, a certain set of guidelines and support for you to make sure that the games that you're bringing out are of the utmost highest quality. They're going to perform the best that they can. But to be honest with you, over the last 5 years, outside of a handful of titles like Forza or Gears of War 5, Xbox has not been doing that with their studios. Because if we're going to say are we going to also say it's only 343's fault that Halo sucks? No. That's Xbox's responsibility just as much as it is 343.
Yeah. It brings back the Nintendo still of quality. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can look at it this way. They bought the game while they were making the game. Okay. They bought them, 2 years before the game was released? True? Yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay. They opted to go ahead and let this game release in the state that it's in, regardless. They could have canceled it, right? But because Microsoft had put themselves in such a hole with having IP and content being come out, they went ahead and bit the bullet and put the game out anyway.
Yeah.
Not only that, they also have a $100 version of that game. Is that not weird? That's weird.
Yeah.
So Microsoft is just as much to blame.
By the way, and Microsoft does set the pricing for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, your analogy of the restaurant is 100%.
I can absolutely dude, oh my God. You have to put the fanboyism to the side for a minute. I can absolutely compare 343 to Arcane Studios because they are owned by the same company, regardless of whatever you think the level of quality of game that they can release is. At the end of the day, and I would imagine everybody in chat is going to agree with me, if you just look at it from a level-headed perspective, Microsoft owns these companies. Xbox owns these companies. It is their responsibility to provide leadership and also ensure that the customer, us, are the ones that are well provided for. So at the end of the day, yes, of course it's Arcane's fault that the game didn't come out in a great state, but it's just as much of Xbox's responsibility to not let that game release in the state that it did. They can't claim, oh, we don't have any responsibility. You were the last ones to have your hand on it. You were the last ones to give it the green light for release. They are the ones that take responsibility.
I mean, they would have taken the credit if it was good.
They absolutely would have. Yes, they would have. And now here's the thing. If the game was good, who gets the credit? Xbox does. Right? Xbox is great now, guys. Xbox is the best console there is. Great games on Xbox. They're the ones that set that flag. Just the same as PlayStation fans do with their games. It's not disingenuous, and I really don't appreciate those kind of words making it sound like I'm lying about any of this stuff, because if it was, this would be something I'd be regularly called out for, and I'm not. So this is just a balanced take looking at it from a business perspective. They have a responsibility to provide us with quality games. They have the final say before that game comes out. That's it. That's my stance on it. You are welcome to have your own opinion on it. It's not disingenuous for me to have mine.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I mean, you roll it over to any other game that's coming out, like Bethesda. I mean, so with Starfield, is Microsoft not responsible for any of that? Like any of the good that comes out of that? Are they not?
No, I mean, with that kind of belief, no, Xbox has no claim at all to Starfield. And
then I don't understand where I just read his comment of, oh, on the next game, that's when it's Microsoft's responsibility.
Not how that works.
You have to protect your brand. You have to protect your brand. You don't put out a game. You don't sell. Okay, you don't do this whole marketing for 4 years of saying Game Pass is going to have 4 new IPs a year, blah, blah, blah. Here's the roadmap. And then you put out a game that is so subpar and laughable that the entire industry laughs at it and then go, well, that's Arcane's fault.
Yeah, no, you can't. And the other thing is, too, is that regardless of your position on the fact that saying that, oh, well, you know, Arcane, if we're specifically looking at a game like Redfall and the issues that it had, I can understand your position saying, well, you know, it had already been in development for 4 years. So are you trying to tell me that Xbox didn't do due diligence when they were researching their purchase of Bethesda and didn't look into every single IP that company was coming out with, how viable those IPs were going to be, whether those IPs should be released the way in the states that they should have been, how far in development those games were. Was Redfall supposed to be this game that just appeared out of nowhere, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, we don't know anything about it, but yeah, green light, go ahead and toss it out on Game Pass. Let's go ahead and give it.
Did Arcane make the release date, or did Microsoft?
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, and there's no hyperbole here either, and I don't know why you're trying to apply hyperbole to this, saying that I'm saying it's only Xbox's fault. They have a large portion in the issue. They have a large amount of responsibility for the state in which games are released and the quality of which the products they provide their customers are in, because they are the company that owns the IP. They are the company that owns the console. Simple as that. They are Big Daddy. They are the ones that make the final call. Therefore, they are assuming the most responsibility. It's no different than how a company operates in the first place. If you have a bad developer that's working on a product, right? And I'm talking about the at the desk developer. Do you place the blame on the developers themselves that are having issues, or do you place the blame on the board of directors and the CEO of the company that leads the whole ship? You put it on them because they are there specifically to retain as much responsibility as possible. They are the ones that have the most to lose because they are the ones that have the most responsibility when it comes to any of these projects to begin with. So I think mindset wise, it sounds like Riskit is trying to associate Redfall as a third party title, like a third party exclusive title. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like with a Forspoken for Sony, they paid for Final Fantasy 16 or whatever, right? So it's a third party title, exclusive title, but totally negating the fact that they owned the company 2 years before they released it. They have to greenlight it. Every game has to get greenlight on every platform that it gets put out on. It has to. And to try to pretend that both parties don't have any fault in it, Microsoft doesn't have any fault in it. They do. They have the ultimate say of yes, put it out, or no, don't. They let them put it out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the brass tacks of it. It's not that, does it make Microsoft a terrible company? No, it's just that was a bad move on their part.
So, if any of you guys are wondering, Riskit, he has his own Xbox-focused podcast himself. If you guys want to check that out, he's a friend of ours. But he's not been necessarily very happy with my takes on Xbox and the gaming industry. But one of the things that I will say is that you bring up, you say, whose fault is it? If the meal is bad, is it the chef or the owner? It's both.
Yeah.
And acting as if one of them isn't as responsible as the other isn't the way that we're looking at this. Because let's say that you have a chef that keeps making bad meals. 343, right? You have a chef that keeps making bad meals. Whose responsibility is it for us to get better games? Whose responsibility is it to fire that chef and replace them? It's Xbox. They're the ones that have more responsibility than anybody else within that company. And I am sick and tired of us not placing responsibility where it needs to go. And that's the reason why I've made a lot of the videos that I made recently, is because we keep talking about the developers themselves and not the people that run their companies, not the people that own them, not the shareholders that push them in a direction in which to try to take advantage of us the absolute most. That's why I have these conversations in the first place. So, love you too, buddy. But we need to move on from this. Let's continue to talk about some of the Baldur's Gate stuff. So I do actually want to kind of talk about the Magic Mirror, because I think this is a really cool addition that they made to the game.
It is.
Specifically because of the fact, as a role play guy, I definitely like the idea. I wish they would make it where I wasn't as bloody after every single battle when I returned to camp. You know what I mean? Every single time that I try to have a romantic conversation with Shadowheart, I'm just just covered in head to toe with blood, and I'm like, man, I wish they would kind of fix that. But what I will say is that I would like to see some general wear and tear on my character from Act 1 to Act 3. And now, since the game doesn't have that built in, I can add that myself with the Magic Mirror.
A little bit of scarring, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you fight the boss at the very end of Act 2, and now all of a sudden, you know, like I have like a scar across my face or a scar across my eye or something like that. You know, like I can do things like that. I can add a little bit of texture to my character as they progress through the whole game. I think that's really cool.
It is really cool.
Especially because they say, but you can't change your race. So, hold on. What does it say? There are some restrictions to your Your appearance, voice, pronouns, and nether regions can be changed, but your race, subrace, and body type cannot. So like, and that's fine. Like, you don't need to change like my like out like my like who I am necessarily. I just want to be able to change like some minor things on my character
Aesthetics,
exactly aesthetic pieces as I progress through the game. So I think that's really cool to be able to do that. And origin characters.
You know what I would. I just wish. Okay, so in my Dark Urge that I'm running right now, I'm in Act 3. I have romanced Lizelle. Okay, we're a thing. We're both Gith, and we're a thing. Okay, but Minthara is also in my group, and they've made some changes. Like, I don't know how to be able to work this, right? So I'm trying to figure out, how do I talk to this person? Do I have to kick Lizelle out of the party, leave camp, go out, try to talk to her? You know what I mean? Because every time you talk to one person in camp, no matter where they are in camp, everyone hears the conversation. You're not getting away from it.
Yeah.
So anybody in the chat, if you can figure out how I'm going to work this love triangle, please let me know. Send me a message.
What is this? Personally, we'll be applying incrementally heavier eyeliner when we have Dark Urge moments in our playthrough to really emphasize our descent.
Like hold on, I got to make an option and just start.
It's just like slowly but surely as your Dark Urge playthrough continues to play, like the emo music just gets louder and louder in your head. Is that what's going on here?
Ding,
yeah.
ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that's really cool. Obviously there's some I don't want to scroll too hard because I don't know exactly how many people in chat have actually completed the game.
Well, they started redacting the actual, if you on Steam they've actually started redacting.
Oh, maybe I should use the Steam one instead of using the website, because the website doesn't have it redacted. The website's just like, nah, dog, there's no redactions here.
Nah, dude, spoilers.
We're going in raw. We're going in raw. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay. But the problem is, like, I can't like zoom, so like I don't think it's gonna look very good if I try to do it like this. Yeah, like there's no way. Like, people aren't gonna be able to read this shit.
Okay.
There's no way.
Well,
yeah, it's not worth it. I guess I'll just read it in my narrator voice. So they changed a boss, Blank, can no longer turn into can no longer turn into a mist if there's like a sunlight or day spell that you can use to be able to basically make other enemies be able to appear. They fixed another thing where there's this big magic blast, and you can hide behind certain shields. That actually works now, like it's supposed to. I thought that I had to have a specific spell. I mean, I can tell you spells, because spells aren't going to be something that's spells isn't spoilers, right? Because it's just it's just so there's I thought there's been a couple fights where you absolutely had to have the is it 6th tier? Yeah, the 6th tier spell, Globe of Invincibility. I thought that was a necessary thing for some fights. It doesn't seem to be. There are a couple fights where like it definitely would probably come in handy, but there are other ways to get around it with you actually not needing to have those spells. So that's really cool that they fixed what I thought was a place where I needed to have it with no matter what. I guess they also made it where you can use Divine Smite as a reaction, which is really good. Some general Divine Smite fixes that they had to make, which is good. Because I kind of realized that it for some odd reason wasn't like acting the right way when I was using it on my light heart, shadow heart. They did some
spoiler. You son of a bitch.
I mean, if you've watched any videos, you've seen blonde shadow heart, or white haired shadow heart. let's see here. They fixed some PS5 stuff, some artwork stuff they mixed and fixed. Flow and scripting, fixing some bugs, some issues that were causing some instances where like random NPCs were just getting into combat when you would talk to them. I haven't ran into bugs like these. I ran into a couple of like goofy things, but like nothing that's like been game breaking for me. So for the most part, a lot of my playthroughs, both of my playthroughs that I have been relatively bug free. I know that some people have told me some like game breaking issues that they've had, but yeah, for me personally, 2 playthroughs, 200 hours or so, I think, into the game just in regular launch mode, and I actually have not had any issue with bugs really. Reworking some reactions or interactions between certain characters, which is really cool. There's some romance stuff that they fixed as well. Some gameplay stuff. What I'm really interested to see is, okay, so last time at the end of their patch notes, they talked about like the future of the game, like things that they planned on doing in the future. Is there a section on that in here? Holy crap, the amount of bug fixes. Holy smokes. The actual like full list that they have on the website is so long. Well, wasn't there supposed to be over 1,000 fixes just in this last patch anyway?
Yeah, if it's Diablo, that's a new season.
Diablo season 3. Lighting fixes, sound effects fixes, cinematic fixes. I've definitely had some bug cinematics in the past. I had a bug cinematic where there's like, did you ever get the one where you need to, I'm going to try to say this in the least spoiler way possible because I am just so nice to our audience. Did you ever get a cutscene where the character that you're romancing, you have to do this thing where you guys talk to each other and you have to like guess things about them?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I got that cutscene where I had to like guess things about my partner, but they weren't actually there.
Oh.
They weren't actually on the screen. It was just me by myself, and they're like, so, would they like to go for a long walk, under the moonlight? And I'm like looking, and there's just nobody there, and I'm like, man, this is too real.
All right.
Like my actual character is completely lonely. So yeah, no, nothing about what they're planning to do for patch 4 yet. I would imagine it's going to be a lot of the same.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of the same. Plus they're being very careful to make sure that anything that they do
doesn't break something else.
Yes. No, it's not that it doesn't break something else. They're trying to be careful that anything that they do does not break mods that they've made for the game.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what they're trying to make sure that they're not becoming a hindrance to the modding community, which I really appreciate. Because the modding community has been popping off. I don't know if you guys have been like taking a look at any of the stuff the modding community is doing. I'm going to make a video regarding it relatively soon. I've just been waiting for like more deeper, interesting mods to come out for the game before I really dive into it any further.
Yep.
I kind of do want to talk very shortly about something else with Baldur's Gate 3 that Mark and I were talking about. So now that I've finished the game on one playthrough, finally, yes, the YouTuber that makes nothing other than videos about Baldur's Gate 3 finally finishes Baldur's Gate 3. Blame it on having multiple playthroughs and also just like having an issue with not being able to commit to one of them. I finally finished the game, and I understand where complaints are coming from regarding Act 3, but the problem is like a lot of people didn't voice their complaints the right way. Yep. I think that the overall end, like the final whole thing, the very last part of the game, the very, very last part, not Act 3, I'm talking about the very last part of the game, can feel like a bit of a letdown in a few ways because there's a couple of like head scratchers, like why did they choose to do that? But the problem is that like there's a couple of issues at play. One, because we've been playing this game from our own perspective, and we've been playing it in a way where we're developing our own narrative as we're playing the game. we're coming up with our own, there's a word I'm trying to look for, but I can't find it right now. We've come up with our own ending to the game, basically, is what my idea is.
Conclusion.
Conclusion. Thank you.
Your own conclusion.
Thank you. We've come to our own conclusion. So when we get to the end of the game and we see how somebody else chose to conclude the game, there's going to be a little bit of dissonance. You're going to have a little bit of dissonance because no matter what, at the end of every story, here's the thing. I've read a ton of books in my life. Reading the book has always been fantastic. Getting to the conclusion always sucks.
Yeah.
Because one, you don't want the adventure to end. And two, you might not like where it stops. You know what I mean? You just might not like where it stops. But at the end of the day, that was their choose. Conclusions are never good. I've never enjoyed a conclusion. There's never been. I can't even some of my. Well, I mean, some conclusions.
I mean, I love my conclusions.
Yeah, depending on the conclusion. But even some of my favorite movies, you enjoyed the middle of the movie and the beginning of the movie. The end of the movie is just kind of like all right, it's done. So I think that there's definitely some stuff for sure that they probably could have done better in the conclusion of the game. And I think a lot of that stuff is probably going to have like a little bit of things like worked on here and there. Mm-hmm. However, the one thing that I hardcore disagree with, which is one of the really popular opinions, was when folks were complaining about the upper city and when people were complaining about like Act 3 being like half baked. That stuff I don't agree with because one, there is so much to do in Act 3. Like I was in Tactician, I'm level 12 and there was so many quests that I went on and completed, so many bosses that I went and fought, so many different items and stuff that I found, so many things that I left behind and didn't complete. Mm-hmm. And I was already level 12. Yep. And that's one of the other issues I think too that a lot of people will probably, that some folks, not everybody, but some folks will probably run into, and it's definitely something that I did, is that on my Tactician run, when I finished the game and there were like a lot of storylines that I was just kind of tidying up, basically. I was just going and finishing some stuff, which led to some bosses. A lot of those bosses were relatively trivial and not all that engaging because I'm a god.
Yeah. Like,
my paladin, like, quadruple crits with his weapon and with his skills and how he's set up. My sorcerer is like meta magic, giga brain, electrocute everything. Shadowheart, she doesn't let anything die. And my Astarion is a damn machine gun. Yeah. So like the game becomes trivial at that point because you're just so strong that a lot of the fights don't really feel as rewarding as some of the fights earlier in the game when it's more of a struggle and it's when it's more of a mystery. Yeah. And I feel like you're going to have a little bit of dissonance when you're getting towards the end of a game this big. If this game went to level 16, I feel like it would feel a lot better.
Yeah. So I think, okay, you said so many things. I'm about to break them down into sections. Okay. I think a lot of people associated, because when the game first came out, people were like, "Oh, Act 3 is, it's half baked. It's this and that." A lot of it had to deal with, I personally think, the performance issues people were running into.
Yeah.
Initially at launch, and not so much of the story part of it. Now, on the story part of it, like when I beat it, what I told you was, hey, I finished the game, but I didn't beat it, right? Because I didn't feel like I beat it the way that I wanted to beat it. I beat it the way that the narrative had me beat it. But so I spent probably 2 weeks in the real world time, just playing Act 3, my first playthrough, which is a lot of content. The problem is I hit level 12 probably 4 hours into Act 3. And so it felt like I was done. Does that make sense? The rest of it was just, I was just seeing what was going on. I wasn't actually, not having that, oh, I get to level up, what's my next ability? Where's my class going? I was just done doing that part of it, and the rest of it was just the story, which is good, don't get me wrong, but for me as a gamer, it made me want to just go ahead and just push through and finish the game, right? Because at that point,
Yeah.
Like my favorite part of RPGs is building my character and doing all, sitting there constantly leveling up. And so I felt like, I was like, well, crap. I guess I'll just go finish the game. We were talking before we got on the podcast, and Ian's like, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? And I was like, nope, didn't do that. I just went straight. I went over there, killed that guy, and game over.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it felt like, and to his point, it makes a lot of the fights feel trivial. Like it feels like I'm not going to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if it went to level 16, it'd probably be a little bit better. I agree with that.
Yeah. Like the level cap does kind of hamper it at that point. And the funny thing is, like, I see I see mods for like increasing XP gains, and I'm like, you're out of your mind. This game would be so boring for me if I gained XP any faster than I feel like I already am, especially in Act 3, because Act 3 just showers you with XP.
Yeah.
There are so many fights, there are so many different storylines, so many different quests and things like that. And a lot of them are like larger bosses or like boss fights or mini bosses that you have to fight. And because of that, you're getting a ton of XP for that stuff as well. And there are some broken items that you get later in the game, like especially being able to like increase your charisma scores or your intelligence or whatever, like past 20 is just like already busted on its own. Like I found a pair of gloves that I got for my I did a warlock paladin, which means like most of my damage is coming from my smites, the actual magic smite damage.
Yeah.
But then I found gloves that automatically put my strength at 23, and I dumped all my strength before to be able to increase my charisma as high as it could go for higher. So now my paladin, when he hits, his weapon hit and the smite are hitting for like the same amount of damage. So it's just like delete. It's gross. It's so gross. So like you get so many like really powerful weapons later in the game that it just, man, I couldn't imagine. I think in future playthroughs, and I think this kind of goes without saying, I'm going to do less.
No, it makes 100%.
I'm going to do less. I'm going to do less of the storylines later in the game to try to give myself a little bit of attrition, right?
Yep.
It's going to be artificial, right? But it's going to be necessary. I need less experience. And somebody fucking asshole, some dude in one of the last videos is like, if you think Tactician is easy, you are not a casual gamer. And I'm like,
Tactician is easy. The only thing that Tactician added was the resting cost, and some of the enemies you run into may have a different ability.
A few other abilities. Their AI is a little bit more improved, but to be honest with you, a lot of their stuff is more annoyance than it is anything else.
Yep.
Like a lot more things have like domination.
Yep, and fear.
A lot of things,
fear.
Stuff, yeah. Like a lot of things where you lose control of your characters and stuff like that. So like I understand. But the thing is that like once you start power ramping in Act 1, like the later end of Act 1 where you're just about finished with Act 1, about to go into Act 2, most of your classes are online. You just start smashing.
Yeah.
You just start smashing. By the time I got to midway through Act 2, I was a fucking monster.
I mean, we're playing we're in Act 2, and it like there are some fights that get us, but for the most part, it's not like we're having a hard time navigating this at all. You know what I mean? No.
So, but that's one of the things that we get to look forward to in the future, man. We get to look forward to more difficulty mods. Did you see that there's already a class mod for Artificer?
What?
Yeah, they already put a class mod in, so you can make the Artificer class, which is do you know what an Artificer is?
Yeah, it's what you go to the doctor when you hit like 45, right? No, no, okay.
No. An Artificer in D&D is like a Necromancer. So you summon robots, and you can also use guns, like arcane guns, where you shoot magic.
So when are we starting our modded playthrough?
Relatively soon, my friend. Relatively soon indeed. So there's some really really cool stuff. Raphael already says in chat, there's already a Tactician Plus mod already. So there's a lot of stuff mod wise that we're gonna be able to look forward to relatively soon. I also thought too, like if I do another when I do my next playthrough on TAC, I'll actually choose like Shadowheart or Lizelle from the start as an origin character to play as, because it's gonna already put you on the back heel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're gonna have
100%.
Yeah, because you're only gonna have 2 characters at the start.
Make yourself a Gith and then try to get Shadowheart in your group. Fuck off! It ain't happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to end up making Asterion my cleric. So yeah, Asterion is my cleric. By the way, guys, if you didn't know, for my Dark Urge playthrough.
Nice. The Dark Cleric Asterion.
Yeah.
The
vampire cleric. Yeah, it works out well.
Yeah, I dig it. So. I like it. So, let's see here. So, moving on from Baldur's Gate 3, one of the things that I did want to talk about is something that's caught my eye and something also that I've been looking into quite a lot lately. I was sending you some messages and stuff because I'm like, dude, we can't forget about this game. We can't forget about this game. We've been so bowed up with Baldur's Gate 2 and just like talking about it, playing it, covering content regarding it, that we haven't really been looking at other games. And there are other games.
There are not any other games. There are no other games besides Baldur's Gate.
Is Baldur's Gate the last game ever?
Yeah. You know what's funny is when I bought my new monitor and Drake's like, what's the first game you're going to play? And he's like looking through my Steam library. He's like, you only have Baldur's Gate installed. I was like, yes.
Yes. Is there? You're like,
that's right.
What? There's other games? What do you mean? There's other games? That doesn't make any sense.
But no, there are a slew of games coming out that look really fun.
Yeah. Yes. So the two that are on my immediate radar, okay? The two that are on my immediate radar is a game from nobody knows. I don't think anybody's ever heard this universe before. It's come from Owlcat Studios. They made a game, Wrath of the Righteous, I believe. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever played that either. Anyway, enough joking around. So they're doing a Warhammer 40K CRPG. So it'd be like our Baldur's Gate. Looking at it, obviously this is not going to be this is a AA game.
Yep.
This is not a AAA cinematic experience. This is a AA CRPG, which means it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And from what I've heard from a lot of people, I wouldn't say Solasta, above Solasta. Solasta was made by an indie developer. They only have a few guys working for them. So they've poured a lot of time, effort, and interest into this, and it looks a lot of fun. It just looks like a lot of fun. The combat looks really interesting. I know absolutely nothing about Warhammer. I'm going to tell you guys that right now. I take that back. I actually have been learning about Warhammer. I have watched Wes Hammer videos for the last week now I haven't really watched them. I've been listening to them while I've been working. Learning as much as I can about the Warhammer universe. It's metal.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Warhammer is Henry Cavill likes it. So
it's metal. No, it's Mark. It's literally it's like, do you know what? It reminds me of this is the world that Ronnie James Dio saw. This is what the world looked like through his eyes. Like just absolute chaos.
It's going to be on consoles. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. They're releasing it on consoles as well. I don't even know where to even start with it. Like, just to give you an example, human society, which most of Warhammer is told from the perspective of humans as the focus race, were once absolutely masters of their domain, right? Like we reached absolute technological opulence, the best technology in the entire known universe. Okay. And then we were like, you know what? We're going to start exploring the galaxy. We're going to start basically colonizing other places. But come to find out, the human race is actually led by an emperor, who's basically an immortal, an immortal human that was made by like shamans, which were like magic users that did like a ritual sacrifice to make him in the first place. And he's been this entire time as society over like, you know, thousands or
millennia.
Yeah, millions of years. He's been watching society in the background and orchestrating every single thing that they do. And there was like a big collapse of the society because he made like clones of himself that were supposed to help lead, but then they got corrupted by like basically space demons. Yeah, and it just goes on from there. Like there was like 2 races I remember in this like history of Warhammer video where they talk about like there's like one of these original races which are basically like Egyptian robots that were dying of like a plague of like cancer basically because their planet, like their nearby sun, was giving them cancer. So they asked this like god of creation, one of these like god of creations, to help them. They're like, hey, can you like, you guys make life? Can you guys cure us? And they're like, no. So then the Egyptian mechanical people go, or the Egyptian fucking alien race goes and talks to like I don't even know what they were. They were like space spirits that also hate creation gods. And then they're like, yeah, we'll help you. And then they turn them all into machine people. And then
so like the Eternals.
And it's literally just war all the time against everybody for no reason other than we want to have war and own every planet and we don't like you. And
you know what? That seems a lot like the human race in general.
It is. Yeah. So but the lore behind some of this stuff is just like it's just metal. It's just a very metal universe. So it's very cool. I'm very interested to see how they portray this. Warhammer games have always been a very hit or miss kind of series.
So, like, I guess what I have a hard time with Warhammer associating it all together because it just seems like so many. It's almost like Final Fantasy in a sense that it has like different eras. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, like, where you're seeing like the dwarves and stuff, like the games that you and I have played before, I think that wasn't 40K. That was like Warhammer, like 10 or 20K.
Like, okay, so that is.
But there are space orcs, so.
Okay, so there are eras, basically.
Yes.
Okay, all right. That kind of wraps up because I like just like from the outside looking in and just dabbling a little bit here and there. I kind of just like, what is going on? I don't understand how you have these space marines, but then you have these little orc guys or little goblin dudes that you're hitting with a stone axe. I don't understand what's happening.
Raphael brings it up. He says Warhammer is medieval fantasy. Warhammer 40K is future sci-fi fantasy space.
Okay.
So basically that's like, you know, millions of years in the future Warhammer. It's the same universe from what I understand. It's just over a very long span of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like magic used to exist, but it still does exist in some ways with some races still having access to the use of magic. Other races use what they call, I want to say it's like the Rift or something like that. Basically, it's like space magic. No, it's space magic. They're basically they're drawing on like another dimension for magic. Just so happens that other dimension is inhabited by space demons. So it's very dangerous to do so because you may become possessed by space Satan. So
Spayton!
I'm not gonna lie. It's a very wild universe of games of lore to get interested in. I'm actually really interested to learn more about it. I'm just one of those people like, because folks have actually asked me, they're like, dude, make some videos about like Rogue Trader, and I'm like, I don't fucking know anything about Warhammer, and they're like, oh, I get it, and I'm like, but I'll go learn.
Yep.
I'll go learn. You know, I'll be fucking nerdy enough.
I'm just down to play another good CRPG.
Wait for the Henry Cavill series. I don't have that long. So yeah, that's one of the games that's definitely on the radar. Lies of P, I'm interested in, but I think Lies of P needs a little bit of extra.
I've played it.
I think it needs a little bit of extra something on it before I want to give it a shot.
So, I downloaded the game when it came out. Played probably 5 or 6 hours.
I watched Asmongold play it.
5 or 6 hours of it, and I don't think it's a bad game. I think they're adding a lot of cool stuff to the Souls-like genre. Like
Yeah.
a lot of cool stuff that you can do as the character. God, my biggest issue with it was the aesthetic of the game. I know that sounds weird because it's kind of steampunky-ish. But
That's weird to hear because that's like
visually,
something that a lot of people are like applauding the game for.
yeah, visually the game looks super muddy. Like no matter what resolution scaling you put it on, it just don't get me wrong, which is it's fine. I'm not a graphics whore. It just feels muddy and muddled. So I like the frame rates are great on it. It runs great. I didn't really care for like the combat felt very button mashy to me. Which is not bad. I mean, a fighting game you're going to have button mashy, but it just seems like I was literally just hitting the same button over and over again, and yeah, it just didn't feel very as intuitive as a Souls game in general. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I need to play more of it, but
yeah, I
wasn't my socks weren't knocked off.
Yeah, I watched Asmongold play quite a bit of it, and it does look a lot more rigid. A lot more rigid than like actual like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, Elden Ring, etc., which you're gonna see, to be honest. And I think for the most part, I think they did a really good job getting something that's in the ballpark where a lot of other studios have failed to be able to do that.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's really cool, and it's nice to see a genre or subgenre get expanded in the way that like Souls-like games have been getting. And I think there needs to be more of them because they do provide a very unique experience that I want to see more games like, because I really do enjoy it. Isn't Liza P this studio's first Souls-like game? It's their first like real game. Like I saw the other game they made, and I think it was a fucking mobile game. So like this is like a huge step. Like this is like this studio is very much an unknown factor, and they just came out with a banger. So good on them. Good on them for making a solid game and a solid success. Now, one of the games that popped out with a lot of gameplay footage from TGS, from the Tokyo Game Show, was a game that I had watched some stuff on before, and I was really excited for. And now I got even more excited when watching the new gameplay. And now I've also been playing a bit of the first one myself. And that game is called Dragon's
Legends
Dogma.
of Dragoon. Oh.
Dragon's Dogma. No, not Legends of Dragoon. I wish it was Legends of Dragoon. Dragon's Dogma 2. So this looks... Have you seen any of the gameplay from Tokyo Game Show?
Yeah. I watched it. I watched this one specifically.
Insane.
It looks really good.
It looks insane. Not only is it very pretty, like it's a very good looking game. It looks very fluid. And as long as for all intents and purposes, what I'm seeing is it looks like they're just basically remaking the first game.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with.
But what I was most impressed with, honestly, was the magic casting. The way it looks like it's like almost every game you've ever played that's magic casting, it's bop, bop, bop. Sometimes you'll have to charge it to shoot it, right? But it's just like it's
Instacast.
Shooting this. Yeah, this is like the dude sitting there weaving a spell. It pops up.
Yep. His
little guard, someone comes to swing, and then like a magic shield pops up on that side of his body. It looks so freaking cool.
Yeah. I will say this, like, so I've been playing the first one. I streamed it for 7 hours on Friday. And they do a much more realistic take on combat, though it's still very rooted in fantasy, obviously. Like I could do like a dive in midair and like stab my fucking daggers into the ground. But the combat is very... I can do that
right now. I can go at the end right now.
Yeah, the combat's very weighted. And because of that, it feels more rewarding, like when you're in combat, when you're fighting some of these monsters and stuff. And they do a really good job of making just about everything feel like a threat, which is something that I really enjoy from Souls-like games. Yeah. So it's kind of like a mesh of these genres, but even though like this game's, Dragon's Dogma 1, I think is like 7 or 8 years old or something like that. Just the overall experience of playing the game is just really good. And on top of that, like the variance between classes and how classes play and how they feel is so drastically different that like the variety of skills that you get is just mind-boggling to me. My rogue, for instance, so I'm playing a magic archer. Chat voted on it. They wanted me to play magic archer, so that's what I played. That's what I'm playing right now. I can switch between using my magic bow, which has like magic bow abilities, like seeker arrows, arrows of ice that I can shoot. I have a ricochet arrow that'll bounce off of, actively bounce off of terrain realistically, depending on where I'm at. If I'm in an open field and shoot a ricochet arrow, it's gone. Like, it just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
If I'm in an enclosed space and shoot a ricochet arrow, it's going to deal some serious damage because it multiplies its damage every time it bounces. And then also at the same time, I still have the freedom to be able to switch to daggers, which is your other side of your gameplay for playing Mystic Archer. I can switch to daggers, and my dagger gameplay is just as on par as my magic bow stuff is, for the most part. But it has like some of the most unique skills that I've never even seen in games before. A really good example of this is like my Mystic Archer. I can stab the ground and make like a shadow pool and then draw enemies into it, and then they get rooted in the ground.
That's cool.
I've never seen that as like rogues have like trap abilities, you know what I mean? Like maybe they'll throw out like a trap on the ground, but like this is just a really unique like take on something like that. And to pull off something like that, there's a lot of risks. There's a lot of risk involved to be able to do so, because I have to sit there and charge that ability first and then plant it and then get out of the way of it. But chances are, if I'm not doing it or I'm not timing it the right way, I'm going to get hit and interrupted and take a shitload of damage because there's no dodge.
There's no dodge. That's odd.
There's no dodge. Like I unlocked it on my class now, but I don't know how to use it. And from what I understand, Rogue is the only class. Rogue, like Strider and Magic Archer, are the only ones that actually get an actual like physical dodge. None of the other classes get a dodge. They have defensives. So as an example, like Mr. Sword and Shield guy here, he has a shield, right? He can block.
He can block. Yeah.
He can block. That's his thing. But you cannot dodge. There's only certain classes that can do that. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It's very cool. It's very cool.
Probably have to download it and try it out.
It's $5 on Steam right now.
Yeah.
It's on sale.
Try it out. Actually,
it's normally like $30 or $40.
I think it's already in my library.
So, but this game has something that's really, really cool and unique, and I'm probably going to make a video talking about it. Even though it's something that's a drum that's probably been beat 1,000 times by other content creators, I still want to talk about the game myself, even though it's 8 years old. I've been wanting to do more like retrospective views on games that I really love, and things that I really love about those games, because like that's the kind of stuff that I want to record for the future. Is that like these are my touchstones that I want to go back to and be like, this is what great games look like. Yeah. You know what I mean? And know what I'm talking about when I reference it when I'm looking at games in the future.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, so I was thinking about this while you were talking, why Riskit was in here talking about the stuff. Like I hate when people use the term generational. I just do. I don't like it.
Okay.
But going forward, for what Larian has done with Baldur's Gate, going forward, I'm going to measure every other CRPG that I play against it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah.
That it set the pinnacle of what it needs to be. So, yeah. And where Starfield didn't do that for its genre, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like that is smart, and that's basically what you're just saying is you're going back and calling out games that they did this, they set these standards, and it's so you're looking forward to seeing if somebody else can build on top of it.
So what's really cool about Dragon's Dogma, and it's something that's really unique, and I haven't seen done in any other game ever, is they have a party system, a pawn system, right? Because I don't think Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be multiplayer, because I don't think Dragon's Dogma 1 is multiplayer, which is like, I get it, but also kind of sucks because like, man, this would be really fun to play with friends. I have to look to see if Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to have multiplayer or not. That is an unconfirmed
I'm looking
statement.
right now.
I literally just made that up. But I know I'm pretty sure that the first one definitely isn't. However, the game is online. And how the game's online is that, so when you come into this world, you make your character, After you make your character, you have to eventually you'll make a second character, which is your pawn. Your main pawn is what they call it, right? And that's a second character that you get to make and customize, gear, level up, do all that kind of stuff. And anybody else that is playing the game can have access to a clone of your pawn in their world. Maybe they'll see your pawn walking down the streets. Maybe they'll see your pawn when they go and they hit a touchstone. They can summon your pawn to their world at whatever level your pawn is at, and then your pawn will assist them in combat. You can have up to 3 pawns with you at a time. Your main pawn and then 2 other pawns. These pawns learn the game with you. And by learn the game with you, I mean like they learn fights. They learn how to fight against certain monsters. They learn what their weaknesses are. They learn quests. They learn everything. I mean, literally, they learn the game just the same as you. They have their own specific AI that learns the game with you. So I'll give you an example of this. I'm playing and I get into a new zone. I didn't realize that I leveled up quite a few times. I can get some higher level pawns. I go and I summon a couple of pawns that are closer to my level, right? They're like 10 levels above, 10 levels, 10 levels with me. And I even summoned one that was 2 levels higher than me. We walk around going to do a quest, and one of the pawns that I brought with me turns to me and goes, I've done this quest before. We need to go to the west. And I'm like, the fuck? I mean, I didn't ask you, but all right. Yeah, all right, cool. All right, we'll walk. So then we go and we walk. We start walking towards doing the quest, and we get attacked by this beastie, a chimera, right? This dude tells me what the monster's weakness is, and then immediately goes and starts using the abilities associated that needs to be able to help me take down this monster to begin with. Tells me what its weak points are. Go for the tail. Cut the tail off first. And then all of a sudden you start to see my other NPCs take after him and learn off of him, and they start doing that kind of stuff too. And my main pawn is learning from them, so that means that whoever then summons my pawn in the future will tell them and their characters what to do if they encounter that same fight.
It's like spreading an STD. I like it.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to associate
Except for it's not a disease. It's a helpful thing.
Sure. No, yeah, it's not. It looks like the only thing that they're talking about is the pawn system right now in Steam. But obviously they only have they don't even have specs, like PC specs and stuff in yet. So, because it's quite a ways off still.
Yeah.
No, the game looks amazing. I mean, it looks like a lot of fun, and it would be so much fun to play with somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God, man. Probably, you know what? Let's see if they can mod a co-op play. I mean, they did for everything else.
They didn't make a mod for co-op play for this game. At least on the first one. At least I don't think so. I didn't see one. I've seen some graphics mods that apparently are kind of like a remastering of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. But I haven't seen anything else other than that. So I don't know what they plan on doing outside of that. But overall, yeah, like that pawn system, like it's one of those things that, like, I can talk about it and it sounds cool, but until you experience it, do you really understand like how badass and how revolutionary something like that is? Like, it's a really cool piece of technology.
Yeah.
Because I find because it's a very open-ended game, very open world game,
yes.
right? And there's a lot of times that I find myself in a position in which I'm like, man, I don't know where to go. And then one of my characters is like, or one of the people in my party is like, oh, I've been here before. And it's like somebody else's pawn that I summoned to my world, right? Yeah. And they're like, oh, I believe there's a switch behind the waterfall. And then I go and I'm like, sure the fucking up, that's where it was. And it's like, so it's a really cool like hinting system that helps you out. But it's also not so one-sided where they're also like, because there's a really good chance that those pawns are not going to have done a quest that I've done, right?
Yes.
And if that's the case, they will then learn from playing with me and go back and tell their actual player. Like, if one of your pawns is in my party and I go do a quest that you haven't done, your pawn is going to learn that and then go back to your game. And then when you play, your pawn's going to turn to you and be like, oh, I've done this. Like, that's so cool.
That is cool.
That's
Ryan
so
Cook.
cool.
Ryan Cook, welcome to the show. He watched your video on something, so this is his first time he joined in. But he asks, is BG3 the sort of game that has content to continue playing after you finish the game? The answer is no. After you beat the game, you finish that storyline. The beautiful thing about Baldur's Gate 3, though, is it's got a shitload of storylines.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff to do.
You can create your own character, or you can use one of the pre-made story characters and play their story and fulfill it out. It's a lot of dialogue to where you can actually, me and Ian could be playing a game, which we have, where I experienced something completely different because of the way I chose to handle it. So it's a game of choice. And like I said, CRPGs aren't for everybody. I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy the game or anything, but if you're into actually diving into an an RPG, like a world, a rich, thick world, then yes, I would go ahead and say try it out.
Yeah. There's a crossover, right? So you have a lot of people that haven't played games like this before that are coming to play it for the first time. And one of the things that they're used to when they hear RPGs is they think about like, oh, well, what's the end game like? There is no end game. You just beat the game and then you go play it again.
Mm-hmm. It's not a live service. You buy the game, you've got all the content that's come out for the game.
Yeah. It's not a live service. It's not a live service game. You play the game to its completion, and then once it's completed, it's done, and you play it again, and you get different outcomes when you play it the next time. I think a lot of people are just kind of used to games having loops. Like end game loops that push them. And it's not even just live service. Like roguelites, I think, have also kind of pushed that because roguelites have gotten really popular over the last few years, right?
Well, I mean, like Nier Automata has, the host a lot of, New Game Plus. Starfield has a New Game Plus-esque
Armored Core 6 has 2 New Game Pluses that add way more content to the game.
Yeah, so it's like... Yeah, some people do it differently, but like New Game Plus would be kind of weird on this game because we just talked about the power level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, how strong you are.
Yeah, I mean, like it wouldn't even be fun at that point unless the New Game Plus was like everything was 16 and you're just stuck at 12.
Yeah, but still that would get boring after a while.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It would.
Especially because you have to think that you're gonna play 3 acts with all the same abilities, skills, and all that kind of stuff anyway. Like you're probably not gonna want to change your skill setups all that much.
Skill setups or your equipment.
Yeah, but I mean that's actually one of the things that I really appreciate with Baldur's Gate. Like it's a game that I can just pick up and put down. You know what I mean? There's no rat race for me to get into. Don't get me wrong. Like I like having a couple rat race games every once in a while. But I've just also gotten really tired of games like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I did just download God of War Ragnarok on the old PS5, and it only took on my I downloaded Call of Duty again, and you know how big that game that is. That downloaded faster than the PlayStation downloaded God of War Ragnarok.
Why did you download Call of Duty?
Because I got a new monitor with new. I wanted to.
Why aren't you playing BattleBit?
I wanted to pew pew.
Why are you playing BattleBit? Play a better game.
I don't want to play. I just wanted to shoot stuff. So
yeah, play BattleBit. It's a better game.
Yeah,
you know it is.
Game. It is a better game.
You know it is. So those are the games that I had on my list to like discuss. There's other stuff that's gonna be coming out. People keep telling me about
Pal World,
Sea of Stars as well. What?
Yeah, Pal World, PAL.
Pal World.
Pal World. Yeah.
Are you talking about Pokemon with guns?
Yes, they showed that at TGS.
Oh yeah, they did. They did. That is true. I'm trying to see what else. If there's anything else on the list, guys, everybody in chat, are we missing anything? Is there anything else that we need to be? We need to have our eyes on. When am I ever gonna go play Remnant 2? That's another really good question, actually.
You think? I've already beaten the game, so wow. Well, wowsies.
I mean, there's one guy here that makes YouTube videos.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here to play games and talk shit.
I know you are. I know you
and guess what I'm doing? Playing games and talking shit.
I'm like looking at my Steam library right now, and I'm like, there's so many games that I've just not beaten.
I started I started Cyberpunk. We talked about that. That's coming out. Their update, their latest patch that they added to Cyberpunk is so awesome. If you look at because I had to look at where Drake was, what they changed on the skill trees is so cool. Like they really added a lot of cool stuff.
Did they?
in lieu of the new DLC that they got coming out. Yeah, it's super dope. It's super fun. I didn't.
I've actually been slowly but surely paying attention to more and more Cyberpunk 2077. It's definitely one that's on the list. I mean, I own it, right?
Yep.
I just haven't played it. I played like a little bit of it when it first came out.
Oh, Lords of the Fallen, yeah.
But I haven't really played anything. I really haven't really played a whole lot since, man.
Oh, Baldur's Gate. It was okay. So we hammered Diablo. We like hammered playing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we did.
You did Last Epic before that, and then Last Epoch, and then I mean Baldur's Gate's been it's consuming. Baldur's Gate's a consuming game. I mean, you go to do just like 2 or 3 things, and six and a half hours have gone by. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, mind you, like I'm now like pretty much a machine at playing that game. I think 2 weeks, even in a work week, I can probably nail out a full campaign.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I know where to go, who to kill, what I want to find,
all
that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know the puzzles. I can run through that real.
Maybe we need to do like a hard campaign to where we don't do the meta, you know, like the meta group. You know what I mean? So,
what do you mean meta group?
So we always have one melee, we always have one caster, we always have one healer. You know what I mean? Or 2 casters. Let's make it like to where everyone's like a ranger, or everyone's a caster, or you know, something weird like that, to where we don't have somebody to pull aggro, and it's just like make it harder. Like we'll make it harder by choosing the different like classes that don't work well together. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Don't be doing that face. You see what I'm saying? They know what I'm saying. All clerics. There you go. All clerics.
No,
and just missing hits.
That doesn't
That's
sound
what we're gonna do.
That sounds stupid. It sounds stupid. Instead, I'd rather get the more difficulty
mod
tactician mod. Yeah.
Okay.
But like all clerics just sounds stupid. All barbarians, but I've already seen people do that already.
Yeah.
All jack of all trades. I do still need to do a jack of all trades play. Which basically just means that you just have 3 party members.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you only have 1 level into every class, like sure you have HP, but like all you have is cantrips. You know what like that's it. Like all you have, this is my cantrip character. So you better make sure you got good items. You better make sure that you got solid stats, and then you're just gonna be using cantrips the whole time. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All Tempest Cleric. Yeah, I looked at Tempest Cleric. I ran like part Tempest Cleric / Sorcerer on one of my runs. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that.
I don't know. I know that you can go and you can multi-class to make your character like super, you know, a lot more effective. Almost
all
broken.
Rogues would probably be pretty hard, but I think you could do if you did all rogues and you came into every single confrontation
snuck
and invisible, you could probably pull it off, especially if you had 2 of those rogues as like hand crossbow rogues that are also like rogue rangers, gloomstalkers.
Yeah, Drake is running he's running a 2-man campaign of he's an assassin, and I think the other guy's a paladin
on tack. And
they're they have to think about their stuff, but they're getting through it.
4 spore druids, 16 fungal zombies. Yeah, that's the other thing you could do too. You could actually just run a single spore druid and then just have a bunch of summons and probably be fine.
Oh, you were the best.
What'd you get?
He brought me some Waterburger. I love you, son. Thank you. You ever seen My 600-Pound Life? That's what he's my enabler. So
yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I don't, nobody's bringing me food right now. This is stupid.
Well, you don't have kids, so
yeah.
Who won that one? Probably you.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm losing on that one, to be honest with you. Oh my god, I'm like looking over and I have like my notes section, and it's just like I see like my notes from playing Starfield.
I mean,
I see my notes from playing Starfield, and it's just like because when I play games, if you guys want to know, like when I'm playing a game and I'm like thinking about making videos and stuff in the future, I just like make little notes off to the side. My notes for Starfield, lockpicking is cool. Controlling ships sucks. Because it's shorthand, right? It's just like shorthand stuff that I use to try to like remember something, like a point in my mind. Everything is in a fishbowl. Bland NPCs. Holy shit, the UI.
Yeah.
Inventory management. Let's see here. Oh, they also showed a little bit of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I saw that too.
Yep. Yeah.
That's definitely a game that's still on my radar, and I'm paying attention to that. Obviously, I'm gonna play it because I'm just a Final Fantasy fiend anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you are.
How am I not gonna play that? Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is another one that's also on my radar. That one triggers my JRPG anime aesthetic happy place.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be in Baldur's Gate and Cyberpunk until we start playing Rogue Trader. To be honest with you, that's probably where I'm going to be at.
You're gonna play Dragon's Dogma.
And Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, I think that's pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk. So that's gonna be this channel for the next probably few months at least. It's gonna be Baldur's Gate, Cyberpunk, and Dragon's Dogma. Probably maybe some Lies of P. I'll probably at least give it a shot.
Yeah.
Lords of the Fallen is definitely on my list as well. I need to put that back on my list, actually.
Yeah, Lords of the Fallen is on my list. That game does look really good. And I do like the concept of when you die, you go to like the underworld to fight your way out. Kind of feels kind of cool. That's just really cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool
I remembered why
thing.
I didn't play Dragon's Dogma. I played the demo, like we were talking about before the podcast. I played the demo of it, but at that time, I didn't like Souls games.
Why?
Or Souls-like games. I just didn't. Like, I used to be one of those people that I don't mind making a game hard, but when you specifically engineer it to be cheap, like with like Dark Souls 1s to where they'll like you're going to go around a corner and there's a bad dude right there, right around the corner, just waiting on you, but he can go ahead and swing, he can clip through the wall to hit you, shit like that.
Yeah.
Just the narrow pathing and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, I just had a weird hot take on it. I just didn't like it, and I know it's weird, but
no, I'm like listening to you and I'm like looking at like my side notes that I've like made for like games and stuff like that, and I just see I just have like weird like one-liners that I put in here that are supposed to like help me remember things, right?
Yeah.
And I have like blood dragged maps showing where body was dragged, like in D&D maps. Criticisms: we must fuck. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh my god.
I don't even know. What was I writing? Ian, what's wrong with you? What the fuck? Oh, man. It must have been genius, or at least I thought it was. Okay, this is good. Anyway, okay. I'll stop looking at these random things. Kind of. So, what's everybody in the chat playing? Besides Baldur's Gate and... Yeah, if this is your guys' first time to the podcast, this is usually in the final moments of the podcast. Last 5 minutes, we usually kind of wind down, just talk to you guys a little bit. See how you guys are doing, what you guys are playing, what you guys are excited for. If you guys want to ask us any questions, you guys can ask us any questions. Go ahead. Hit us with your questions. Family. How's Sea of Star? Is it pretty good? I saw it was on Game. I think it's on Game Pass, isn't it? Reviews for it actually did pretty well. I mean, I watched a lot of trailers and stuff for it. It was a game that was on my radar. It's just I'm just tied up with so many other things. It's very like Chrono Cross. Okay. You know what I mean? Chrono Crush.
Yeah.
First time trying No Man's Sky, and it's so much better than Starfield. I have heard that 1,000 times by now. Toss up between Terraria and Valheim. I'm going to do a Terraria video relatively soon, actually. I've been hungry for that game again.
Monster World State of Decay 2.
I have a unhealthy addiction to Terraria. Though I would call it healthy, but other people would be like, you have a problem.
You've got issues, buddy.
I love, like, if I actually had to say, like, if somebody had to put a gun to my head and said, what's your favorite game of all time? It's Terraria.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, I cannot understate how much I love that game. It's just I don't know, man. Like, it fits any mood that I'm in. Do I feel like grinding and trying to find some rare items and like boost up my character and make them super strong? Play Terraria. Do I feel like building and just like listening to some like fucking cool jams while I'm just chilling? Terraria. Do I feel like fishing and trying to find rare fish and rare items? Terraria.
Yeah, we played the Calamity mod.
Of course I played Calamity. I have 1,000 hours into Terraria. Yes,
the music alone in Calamity is worth it.
Dude, the music in Calamity is it's like banger track after banger track. It's so good. So I don't know if you've seen anything. Of course, I watch like everything that has to do with Terraria anytime I see it come up on YouTube. But Chippy posted a video where he's talking to Red, who's the main guy over there at Relogic. Mm-hmm. And I guess the new patch, they're doing all new music. Or not all new music, but they're adding new boss music and stuff like that. I want to say it's probably stuff that's been inspired because of Calamity.
Oh, okay.
So they're doing some like remixed boss music for some of the first bosses and stuff like that, which is really cool. But talk about a game that like just probably will never not get support. I don't know. Like, are they like they've talked about Terraria too, but like,
I think with what's the other one they made, the space one? Was it them that made that one, or was it
No.
Somebody else?
No. Yeah, they don't have anything to do with that. That's not them at all. No.
Like that one wasn't as good, like at all. I didn't like it very much.
Yeah, that wasn't them. So
I don't know. That's weird. You would think that they would build on to Terraria. You'd think. I mean, it's still getting patches. You know what I mean? So
Terraria.
Yeah. So I mean,
think there's another game that they said they were. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about Starbound.
Starbound. Yeah.
Yeah, Starbound just didn't hit the same.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, Starbound just didn't hit the same. Yeah, Terraria is a vibe. Yeah, 2D Minecraft. That's kind of close, but Terraria is like also an RPG.
It's like,
right? Yeah, it's an RPG. It's like, different sets of items and weapons progression, class progression.
Yeah, I guess.
That's, you just don't realize.
Let's have this conversation because our boy Fonz, his podcast is up, and I was just reading the title on it.
Is Terraria better than Starfield as an RPG?
The dialogue's better. You don't have this. So you're talking to somebody, and someone's like right there in your camera. No, but he asked, is Spider-Man 2 an RPG? So let's break this down since we are the RPG dudes, okay? What do you think personally quantifies a game to be, or qualifies a game to be an RPG? Okay, because now you've got games like Spider-Man. Yes, I get to put points into certain abilities and this and that. So does that make it an RPG?
So
do you see what I'm saying?
So, I actually think that like the RPG part of it doesn't matter as much as the modifier before it. Action RPG, classic RPG, strategy RPG, right?
Okay.
So, like, for the most part, I think you would classically define most games as an RPG if they have some type of progression system, character building progression, and then also because like technically any game could be a fucking RPG. if I'm playing Ace Combat, I'm role playing a fucking fighter jet pilot, right?
Are you though? Are you? Yes, you are. You are.
Oh, it doesn't make it. I'm tired. Never mind.
No, I guess I'm looking at the like splitting hairs. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because like I look at it like weird. I look at like a classic. I'm not a CRPG, but just classically RPG. You would think it's different than an action adventure game that has RPG elements, like Starfield, for instance, or Spider-Man.
What makes a game an RPG? So says Google, according to TechTarget. A role-playing game, RPG in parentheses, is a game in which each participant assumes the role of a character that can interact with the game's imaginary world. Many RPGs are set in fantasy or science fiction environments. Well, that's every fucking game.
So Super Mario Brothers, the original, is an RPG.
Yeah, let's ask Reddit because that's a fount of fucking knowledge.
Nothing bad's ever happened.
I love how this guy gets posted. He's just asking just a general question, and it's like downvoted into the fucking oblivion. Like just be like, so like, what to you guys? What is an RPG? And everybody fucking downvoted it. They're like, personal opinion incoming. Oh fuck, never mind. I don't want to read this. This is toxic. I already felt it. Like reset era. You think they would have a good? Oh no, this is a fucking message board. I don't know. I mean, like, typically in my mind, when I'm talking about, like, somebody even asks, is GTA an RPG? I mean, it can be considered an RPG if you want to consider it. I think any game can be an RPG if you want to consider it to be one. But classically, if we're thinking about it, most people's general opinion is a game in which it has, like, I find equipment that increases the stats on my character. My character has in-depth character building options, skills, and things like that. It usually involves a level up system, right?
I think for me, I just realized. I think for me, what I think classifies an RPG is choice. If I have choice in the game, does that make sense in the story?
Yeah. So Spider-Man has choice. Choice in what skills you use, right? What kind of choice? Narrative choice?
Narrative choice. Yeah.
So is Diablo not an RPG?
No, it's an ARPG.
See, that's what I'm talking about. The modifier beforehand is really what sets a game to begin with.
It is.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think the modifier beforehand is what sets what kind of game it is. I mean, technically, yeah. Technically, Spider-Man's an action RPG.
Okay.
I don't know. Fair. What do you guys think? What about you, chat? COD is a shooter RPG?
Yeah, it is. No, I mean, because you're taking the role, if you're playing multiplayer, you're taking the role of a nameless, faceless character. I don't know.
Like, I'm trying to think, how would you... I mean, you're not really progressing your character. You're progressing the weapons and equipment that you have in the game, like, but it's not tied to the character, if that makes sense. Right? So I don't think it would really count in that in that regard. I don't know. It was just a thought. I don't want to get into the philosophy of it. Yeah, tomato, battlefield, potato. I don't know.
See, I think I agree with Raphael that there's RPG elements doesn't necessarily make it an RPG game.
That's actually probably a really good way to say it. Games can have RPG elements, but that doesn't make them an RPG.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. What makes it an RPG is whether or not I can bang the characters.
Chris thinks that if you play Ace Combat, it's an RPG while you make the jet plane noises. So,
thank you. At least somebody agrees with me. Bustin'. All right. So, guys, it is over the 2-hour mark. We have games to play. We have things to do. I
got to go to work in 2 hours.
Yeah, Mark has to go to work. I have to play video games. And then also prepare for a very long work week tomorrow. So it's been absolutely fantastic. And I love the fact that you guys keep showing up and chatting with us. And you guys have been enjoying the videos and the content and the streams and the podcast and all this stuff. So I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic week. If you're watching this on the VOD, thank you for watching the VOD. And I hope you also have a fantastic week. Mark, do you have any final words of parting?
No, I'm enjoying Cyberpunk. If you haven't played Cyberpunk, check it out. They've added a lot of cool stuff in Cyberpunk 2.0, plus the new expansions coming out. I really miss doing this, and like I said, Ian has done a fantastic job on his videos. Go check him out. If you haven't checked him out, throw him a like. Also, hit us up in Discord. Join the Discord. There's groups that are trying to find people to go play Baldur's Gate 3. Y'all guys are the community, and you can make the community what it is by joining up and seeing what people want to do. So that's all I got.
Cool. All right, guys, have a good day. Be safe. Stay cool. Stay righteous. Stay safe, my friends, and we will see you in the video games.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that fast.
That was
my neck. I'm old.
Weird. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
bye, guys.
Oh, I'm sweating.